Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. Today I would like to introduce a semi-working version of the FRAP rules system. This is the custom game mechanic that I am developing for the game that I want to make myself. FRAP stands for Flip, Remove, Add Plaques, and here are the plaques that the game system uses. I also have a selection of stand-ins for the other mechanically important parts of this system. So, what is going on here? Well, first, the plaques. These are the key part of the system. Whenever the games master sets up a challenge, it could be scaling a cliff, picking a lock, fighting against a non-player character or some kind of monster, there will be a number of challenge plaques. These represent the task that you're doing. So this is a challenge plaque. In order to defeat the challenge, you must remove it. Or you can pay a higher cost and flip it, which is considered a critical success. There will be some sort of positive effect on the other side. And depending on the difficulty of the challenge, there could be any number of these plaques. I think 3 is the standard number, perhaps 5 for a particularly difficult challenge, or a challenge where there are more grades of success. Also, you have obstacles. Obstacles are things that you must overcome to do the challenge. An obstacle must be removed or flipped before anything else can be done. And again, if the obstacle is flipped, there is a boon on the other side. In addition to that, there are hazards. These are things that present some additional risk in the task. They can be ignored, in which case you take the effect. They can be bypassed, and again, they can be flipped to give some kind of boon. And how you choose to spend your action points will determine how well the task goes for you. You need to bypass the obstacle nonetheless, but the remaining points, do you spend them to mitigate the hazard, making the task safer, or to actually do the challenge? To aid you, there are perks and equipment that characters can collect and earn and learn through experience. These can be added to the task and they have some sort of benefit or effect to the task. I'll go through a worked example of this in a separate video so you can see how it works, but these are the 4 plaques. In addition, there is a set of dice that you will need. The game will use custom dice. They will be high variance dice with action points rather than numbers on them. So, for example, I might use a 12-sided dice, but it will not be numbered 1 through 12. It will have a number of action points. And they are arranged in order. This order is significant because depending on your skills and abilities, you will take a number of dice and ignore a number of dice. The dice get better as you move through the scale. So if you were to take 5 dice from here, that would be okay, but taking 5 dice from here is even better, and taking 5 dice from here is better still. In addition, we have some tokens representing change. If you do not have enough action points on one dice to flip or remove a plaque, you can combine them and get some points back in change. These here are just to make bookkeeping easier. You could, of course, do this with anything, or you could do it mentally, but I find that keeping track of these numbers when you're in decision space takes away from the gaming experience. So if this hazard costs 5 action points to remove, and you have 2 dice with 3 action points each, well, you spend those 2 dice and then take a point of change. It's just a bookkeeping mechanic. And finally, you have some sort of token for hero points. You have an additional resource that you earn depending on your class and your actions, and they can be used to power up certain perks and benefits. And you have some sort of token to keep track of those. Again, you could do this on paper, but having something physical is nice. These are my honey badger coins I shall use for now. These plaques are mechanically not 100% vital. You could do all this on paper. The games master could lay down the challenge. They could make note of these numbers, 5 points to remove, 10 points to flip, and make note of the bonus that's on the other side, all on a sheet of paper, and players could use that. I think having a physical prop to represent this certainly enhances gameplay, in my opinion. But this could be done entirely on pen and paper. And of course, these plaques, I am no graphical designer, that's for sure. These are quick mock-ups that I made. Ultimately, if this goes well, I'd like to have a professional have a go at this. If the game was ever to be published, the idea is there would be a library of these plaques and challenges online that anyone can download. You have a particular challenge that you want to do, great. If we have one, print off that set. If you don't, print off a blank set and fill them in. I've talked about potential monetization of games in past, and this is an element of that, I should say. We could have packs of card with pre-punched challenge plaques on them, and they could be assembled for pre-written adventure modules. Here are the challenges and the NPCs that you are likely to meet, and here are the challenges, here are the plaques that go with that. So you could purchase the core book and then print off your own plaques or make your own plaques from blank ones. Or here is a set of pre-punched card ones that you can just pop out. All the plaques are assembled together, so the challenge hazard and obstacles are assembled together, so you don't need to flip through multiple sheets of card to find them, and they're organized by chapters so that when your players get to that chapter, you can have the plaques ready. Or if you're feeling really fancy, here are some bougie ones made of clay, like the Baccarat plaques you see James Bond using in the Dr. No film. The intention would be that over many campaigns, a games master could collect a library of these plaques and have them in some sort of fancy case. And whenever a challenge came up, they could check their library to see if they had something that's already made. And if they didn't, they could print something out or take blank ones and fill them in themselves. The whole purpose of this, these little change tokens, they could be M&Ms or peanuts or anything. These tokens, they could be anything. Of course, we could make an official version and offer to sell it to players. But you don't need to buy anything apart from the custom dice, fair enough. But as many of these props are downloadable or there's free alternatives that you can use, because I really want to keep that barrier of entry as low as possible. The next video I upload in hopefully a few minutes after this will be an example of a playthrough using this system. I'm not actually going to be rolling the dice because these are just generic polyhedral dice. I'll roll them off camera. I won't do any of the bookkeeping for real. I'll just make up numbers and say I've got the points for this or I don't have the points for this. But this is the kind of thing that you would need to play the game. In a virtual tabletop, all of this could be handled in a very smooth way where all the numbers are counted up automatically for you. But I'm not designing the game for a virtual tabletop. I'm designing it for a real tabletop with physical props and actual dice and little tokens you use to keep track of things. That's my intention. So that's the cornerstone, the core rules for the FRAP system. These are your plaques that you remove, add, or flip as part of a skill challenge. So please join me in the next video. I'll give an example of how this works.